All right, welcome to Wismo Technologies. This is Mallikarjun here. In this today's session, I'm going to quickly demonstrate on the how you can perform a maintenance of your RAG database. Basically, the bouncing of your RAG database, uh, and bouncing of your RAG database instance-wise, and bouncing of your entire RAG database across all the cluster nodes. That's going to be one of the challenging activity for most of the DBAs. And generally, in most of the interview, this is a commonly asked question: how you're going to perform the maintenance activity for your RAG database? How you're going to bounce your RAG database? Is it going to be instance specific, or is it going to be entire RAG database, including all the instances? How? What are the best practices? So that's what I'm going to demonstrate in this today's session. So generally asked question for the RAG database: how to bounce a RAG database and how to configure RAG database cluster wise settings, and how often you bounce this RAG database, especially for patching activities or for any configuration changes at cluster level or any maintenance of activities or in case of any cluster administration activities. So we more often perform this RAG database maintenance or bouncing or shutting down or starting off your RAG database instances and RAG databases across your cluster nodes. Right. In this particular example here, I have a two node RAG database. I have a host node 1 and host node 2, two cluster nodes. So I can quickly check PSF and F grep SMON. I have plus ASM1 and DevDB instance 1. And on the second node, I have plus ASM2 and DevDB database instance 2. So both cluster where the GI and both the database are running with Oracle user. You can see it here. ASM is running with Oracle user and my database instance is running with Oracle user. Here also same ASM and database both are running with Oracle user. So it meaning Oracle is the owner for both my GI and database. So that's the current setup. It's a two node rack setup. Now I can quickly check my database status. Check your rack database status across all the cluster node. So you can do it from any node. I can log into Oracle user on node 1. I can run this .orinv devdb devdb instance 1, my bad, devdb instance 1. I can verify the environmental variables. So devdb instance 1, Oracle home, Oracle base. So else we can do in a split window. I can go with the node 1 here. I can go with the node 2 here. So here also in the second window, I'll log into Oracle user. I'll set the environment variable to dev db instance 2. Verify the environmental variable like env, pipeline, grep, capital, Vora. So my dev db instance 2, Oracle base, Oracle home, everything is set. So now I'm gonna run my rack status from node 1 or from node 2, it will be same status. DevDB instance 1, DevDB instance 2, running on node 1, running on node 2. Fair enough. And then I'm gonna stop or shut down my entire database using srctl stop database so that you're gonna stop my database instances on node 1 and node 2. You can do this command from any of the cluster node. So right now on node 1, I can able to connect SQL plus slash SSDB. I'm able to connect to my DevDB instance 1. Same thing from your second node. SQL plus slash as this DBA. I'm able to connect to my second instance, DevDB instance 2. So the moment I stop my database, SRCTL stop database, you can do it from node 1 or you can do it from node 2. This command can be done on any of the cluster node. So your DevDB instance 1 running on node 1, DevDB instance 2 running on node 2, everything will be down if I do SRCTL stop database. And at the same time, I can do SRCTL start database to start my database, which is going to start across all the cluster nodes. So let it go down. So you can check your SMON status here and node 2, PSFNF grep SMON. So your only ASM instance is left out. DevDB database is stopped now. So you can go ahead and then run the same command again, srctl status database. So which is going to tell you DevDB instance 1 not running on node 1, DevDB instance 2 not running on node 2. Same thing you can do it on the second node as well. It will be a same status. Both the instance 1 and instance 2 are not running on both the nodes. Fair enough. That's your database wise maintenance. Now you can start the database from any node. Now I can do from node 2, I'm going to start it so that it's going to start it on node 1 and node 2 together. Even if you do it from node 1, you're going to start the database instances across all the cluster nodes because these are the server control utility. SLCTL is a server control utility where you can perform this command from any of the cluster node. Right, so you can do it here, ps-grep smon. So your DevDB instance 1 smon getting started. So your database will be up in few minutes. I think it's done now. So let's check the status. Your DevDB instance 1 running on node 1, DevDB instance 2 running on node 2. Same thing you can do it on the first, do it from the first node as well. So DevDB instance 1 running on node 1, DevDB instance 2 running on node 2. Fair enough. So that is how you can stop and start your database, a cluster database, and this is a complete downtime across all the cluster node. Your all the rack database instances will be shut down and started using this srctl stop database command and srctl start database command. So now we have an instance wise specific shutdown operation. So check your rack cluster database instance from any of the cluster node, like srctl status instance 1 for this DevDB database. So I can do it from node 1. I can check my node 1 instance, and the same command I can do it from node 2 as well. It will be a same output DevDB instance 1 running on node 1. It's only for instance specific. So I can do this second instance from the second node and as well as from the first node. So DevDB instance 2 running on node 1, DevDB instance 2 running on, sorry, DevDB instance running on, DevDB instance 2 running on node 2, DevDB instance 2 running on node 2. Fair enough. Now I can shut down these instances from any of the cluster node. Being an any cluster node, I can shut down instance 1, instance 2, like srctl stop instance -I instance name -d database name. So instance 1, instance 2, I can run it from any cluster node. I can go to node 1, I'll shut down my instance 1, and then I'll go to again same node 1, I'll shut down my instance 2. So it meaning you can beat on any of the cluster node and you can perform the shutdown operation of your instance which is running on any of the cluster node. Let it stop. Can check the status here on the other node. So instance is being stopped on node 1. Now it stopped. You can check the status now. DevDB instance 1 not running. DevDB instance 2 is running. So we just now stopped our DevDB instance 1. Now you can go and then stop your DevDB instance 2 on the same server. So now I can same way start my instance, srctl start instance 1 for this DevDB, start srctl start instance 2 for this DevDB. So I can run this command from any of the cluster node. So let it stop this instance 2 as well. Then we can start it from the second node. We can start it instance by instance 1 followed by instance 2, or you can directly go srctl start database if you're going to start your all the instances. Right, second instance also stopped here. Check the status now. Right, DevDB instance 1 not running on node 1, DevDB instance 2 not running on node 2. So check it from the second node as well. It's the same status. DevDB instance 1 not running on node 1, DevDB instance 2 not running on node 2. Now we can go and then start your instance from node 2. First start the instance 1 and followed by start the instance 2. Let it start. Check the status now. Right, instance 1 is not running, instance 2 is not yet running. Let's see now. Right, instance 1 is running on node 1, but instance 2 is not yet started. Let's go ahead and then start your instance 2 as well. You can do it from any node. You can do it from node 1 or node 2, doesn't matter. These are your server control utility. You can do it from any of the cluster node. Instance 1 already started here running on node 1. Instance 2 is not yet started. It's about to start. Right. So command completed successfully. DevDB instance 1 running on node 1. DevDB instance 2 running on node 2. Same thing, you can check it on node 1 as well. DevDB instance 1 running on node 1. DevDB instance 2 running on node 2. Fair enough. Now that is your bouncing maintenance activity for your database wise or the instance level. Now the cluster setting, cluster parameter. So for that I can do srctl config database -d devdb. That's gonna give me. I'll gonna go with a single window now. Great. srctl config database. That's the configuration of my RAG database, which is going to tell me DB unique name, DB name, Oracle home, owner, SP file, password file, domain, start option, shutdown option, and type is rack and instances. The group is oinstall. Instances are devdb instance 1, instance 2. The Oracle configured nodes are node 1 and node 2. Your database admin policy, admin manage. Right, so that's your entire rack database cluster configuration. Now I can do modify, like right now let's say SP file is already set and password file is already set. So in case if you SP file and password file are not set, which are not on the disk group, you want to set them, I can use this srctl modify database -d devdb and SP file srctl modify database -d devdb password file. I can give the same SP file and password file and then I can execute this command. Right now I'm gonna do the same, like this is my same SP file, whatever is already set. I'm gonna trying to reset again, right? That's gonna set your SP file. Same thing, you can go ahead and then check your password file. You can set the password file srctl modify database devdb password file and then you can give the password file location. So same thing, you can set your owner, start option, shutdown option, your disk groups properties and your instance properties, node properties. All these parameters you can set it using this srctl config database configuration. So that is for the same srctl server control utility with a modify option. With this modify keyword you can set or you can remove or you can change your cluster configuration for a database. Right, so that is your maintenance activity, what I wanted to cover today for the RAG database. And in our next session, we're going to start with the cluster maintenance, cluster administration, how you can bounce the cluster, how you can check the cluster statuses, services, and which are logs you can monitor it. That we can cover it in our next session, guys. Until then, take care. Thank you. Bye bye.